This is Understanding Elon Musk. Today we look at space science, not space science, space for SpaceX, but rocket science was this old Kaisha company where Elon Musk worked. And I think it is the foundation of his whole idea how to do the startup thing, because also Stephen Blank helped NASA and ESA with their problems for managing their communications and how to see how far they are in the development of a rocket or a satellite. When it is ready to put into a space ship and to ready to launch. So this principle he also uses for a startup when they are ready. So he has this stepping model for when they are ready to get money from the investors, and when they are ready to go to really go live with their products, etc. Most important thing for Stephen Blank is the customer communication between the CEO and the customers. And also engineers have to talk directly to the customers, not through a sales or through a PR department. So you see also that Elon Musk doesn't have any PR or marketing department, because he expects his engineers and himself to do this communication. And I think that is the good way. That's also how I worked as an engineer. And to really get if you have maintain a software program that the computer is running on, the best input is directly from the users themselves, not by asking the head of sales or the head of a department what they think their employees want as an upgrade. Go directly to the employees, look over their shoulder how they are working and how you can optimize the screens they are using for their daily work. So also I think this is for SpaceX the same. I think a lot of engineers are looking at the process, building rockets, and if they see a better way of making the rockets, future rockets, they will of course try to suggest this, and probably will be will update. They will update the process to make it even better. So this is Starship. This is the other project they got funding from NASA. That is the Starship for the moon. I will keep it here a little bit more better, so like this. Okay. So we can see that the radical design is this chopstick tower, where they catch the rockets instead of that they normally land on the ground on their feet. Like on the moon there is no tower, so they cannot use the tower. But here on Earth they want to have a tower on the ground, or later maybe on a boring platform in the sea. And these are radical designs, and this is never done. So this is very interesting to see if this will work. And all these kinds of these pivot points you can see in the design. That he went from carbon to steel. He went from the legs without legs. Then he had to have this chopstick system. Then he changed the fins and design. All these points of pivot normally are done in bigger companies by firing the head of sales or firing some department. Why is that? Because you can imagine if there is a sales head of sales that does something in a specific way, he is fired and somebody takes it over. He says, yeah, that is an old method, that will never work, we have to do it like this. In reality, this change in a normal company, for example for sales, that is his pivot point. And also for engineering, you can imagine that a project fails and then another engineer says, no, we have to do it another way to solve this problem. And again, that is also a pivot point. So the important thing is you must not fire people just to get this pivot point. You have to fire the model or your design. If you know the design from the beginning is not 100%, because you are still looking for what is the best design, that is what startups do, and you pivot around the design, you don't have to fire anybody. So that is the better thing. But in companies, you can imagine you have already a product. If you want to change it, you have to, there has to be consequences. So you have to fire, then you have an excuse to change the model, and then the person that will be new will change the model, because then he has the power to change the model, and then the company can maybe make a success. But in a startup, and maybe and also with Elon Musk, what he does, he changed the whole concept, or maybe the whole concept of a piece of the concept, and that doesn't mean that he has to fire anybody. It's just a failure, but we now learn something. Let's continue this way. For example, with carbon, okay, steel is better because we must make several changes in the design. If we use carbon, every time we are fixed to the design, and if we want to change it, it's too difficult. So, for example, Rocket Lab, they use carbon because they already made the design complete and it is finished, and they don't want to iterate on their design. Maybe one or two times, but in reality they just are fixed with this design. Elon Musk is still looking for the optimized way to use his rocket, and especially because it is a challenging design, because it has to be reusable, and that it will be the first rocket ever to be removable at this size and this design. So he pivots, I think maybe 2 or 3 times a day if he finds a problem. This is also done, I think, with Tesla, Neuralink, Boring Company, and also at SpaceX. And that doesn't mean that people have to be fired. I think the only people he fires is that if they don't want to pivot, or they don't see the concept that they have to pivot, but it doesn't have consequences for them, but it has consequences for the model, and the model has to be every time adjusted for the customer, or for the what you want to do with it. You can imagine the car is every time optimized for the customer, so the satisfaction of the customer will be better and better and better. For SpaceX, the problem is they have to fix this problem for reusability, so they sometimes have to throw away the model, redesign it to fix some of the problems the previous model had. They were not fixable because they were fixed to this model. So scrap it, redesign it, or rethink it, or brainstorm it, and that's also why I think he found this idea to go back to steel again. And probably much more smaller things are affected by this way of thinking. So this is my talk about understanding Elon Musk, but please look at Steve Blank, all the stuff he did for the American government, for NASA, for startup companies, to inspire startup managers and entrepreneurs how to start up their companies, and also for big companies how to become more innovative like a startup. You can find all his plans back on his blog and on his site. I will make later links to it, and this is almost the same what Elon Musk is doing. So it is not a mystery or secret how Mr. Elon Musk is doing things. It is a known way of running businesses in America, and if you look at this professor, you will recognize a lot of the examples and the way of thinking in his way and in the same way as Elon Musk thinks. That is this episode for understanding Elon Musk, and this time we used the background from SpaceX.